Thank you for joining us, everybody. Welcome to Survival in Our Cities, Food and Water Security, a South African Crisis. Is urban farming a solution? I'm sure this is going to be a fascinating discussion, and we are very grateful that you have taken this opportunity to join us on this rather chilly evening in Johannesburg. Without any further ado, it is my great pleasure to hand over to Gordon Cook, an educator and founder of the Vega School. Gordon, over to you. And thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much, David, and a very warm welcome to all of you listening in. I would like to give some thanks, first of all, to our extraordinary panel members who have been amazingly professional in being on time and preparing for this discussion. I'd also like to thank the Johannesburg Inner City initiative. I'd further like to thank the Jewish National Fund, Bev, you actually with us on screen, and to thank Megan for her amazing management skills. David, we must thank you for your technological capability. This has run flawlessly so far. And finally, I'd like to thank a good friend of mine, Rennie Plitt, property owner, who did a lot of rooftop gardening in the city, as he owns a lot of properties there. And he and Benji, our panel chairman, have been instrumental in putting this together. Thank you, Rennie. Thank you, Benji. And I'd like to now hand over to you as our panel chairperson, Benji.
Yeah, thank you, Gordon, and thank you so much for your efforts in helping to make tonight a reality. And, it's a really important topic that we're going to be discussing tonight, because if you had your dinner interrupted because you're coming and sitting on this webinar, or perhaps you're eating dinner, then I guess we're discussing about how can we keep dinners flowing to all sorts of households all over the country, and how maybe after this panel you can even join the movement to make sure that we're a part of the solution. And we've got a great panel tonight for you, and really a wide range of people involved in the field, so to speak, if you'll excuse the pun, as well as people who are working at the corporate level and in the academic level, and with international input as well from Israel. So I think it's going to be really fascinating, and I'm excited about the discussions that we can have tonight on this topic. Just to introduce ourselves as the Jewish National Fund of South Africa. So you could think of us as the Jewish Communities Environmental Organization. We started over 100 years ago as a kind of a tree planting organization in the Holy Land. And we've planted hundreds of millions of trees as a Jewish diaspora in Israel, and have contributed as well to the water system. But we're also very active here in South Africa. And we have indeed a lot of food and agriculture and that kind of work that we do here as well. And we're going to show a video of our project in Mamelodi in a few moments, as part of the work that we do here in the Jewish community and the wider community on the issue of environmental issues generally, but agriculture and urban agriculture is a big part of what we do as well. Please feel free as part of this discussion to post in the chat. You can chat or in the comment section. If you have any questions at all, we will be taking questions after the presentations of the different panelists, of which we had 4. So we'll give each panelist just to give a different part of their perspective on this issue of food security in cities, and then after that we will take questions from the audience, and yeah, happily take any and all questions, and hopefully learn together. So a great turnout. We've got over 100 people, which is fantastic. I'm so glad to see that so many people are excited about growing food. And spring is, it's famously that winter is coming, but spring is coming, and we're all going to get going when it comes to the production of food. So yeah, that is all I have to say. We're going to show the video of our project in Mamelodi, and then from there we will be starting our discussion.
Well, Tosi Zulu Environmental Center is a center which tries to engage the community and everyone around Mamelodi to understand and know the need of environmental knowledge or environmental education. As a facilitator, what we do on a daily basis is we facilitate different programs, environmental programs, to different schools around Mamelodi. The areas that we concentrate on, it depends on the program which we are dealing with. For instance, when we deal with waste programs, we focus mainly on recycling because we don't want to see our environment dirty. We don't want to see papers lying around, cans lying around. So it's best for us to teach those kids while they're still young about the importance of taking care of the environment so that even when they are older, they'll be able to grow with it from an early age.
Right, thank you so much. That just gives you a small idea about our centre in Mamelodi, and if you would at all ever like to visit, you can always just let us know. I see there's a question: will we record this and be giving it out? Absolutely, but it doesn't. You can't just leave, right? Just because we're going to record it, so you have to stick around. So let's start off. Well, tonight you're going to meet all the different panelists and what they do. But we'll introduce them one by one. We're going to start off with Dr. Nodea Malan. He is a senior lecturer in development studies at the University of Johannesburg and serves as a member of council on the Agricultural Research Council of South Africa. And he's also a visiting research fellow at Wolfson College in Cambridge, where he initiated the Izibanda Zungula. I think I've completely mangled that. You'll correct me, Nodea. Which is about conversations about food, which is a multi-stakeholder engagement project to create opportunities for urban agriculture in a sustainable food system in Soweto. So welcome and thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. And I would like to thank my hosts and my panelists and the attendees for listening to me. Just while I share my screen, Mike, can I go ahead?
Yeah, just just to give a framing of what you want to say about what you're going to be talking about.
So Izindaba Zokudla is like I say, it's a multi-stakeholder engagement project. So I don't really, dig in the ground, but I bring the stakeholders together who want to see a sustainable food system. And by bringing people together, we can make a little bit of magic. And I can connect the farmers, and I started with working with farmers in Soweto. I can connect them to facilities at the university, and I also recruit stakeholders. And this could be anyone from someone who has a spaza shop to someone who has a fresh produce market. I connect them all, and we organize the engagement opportunity in the farmer's lab. Now, of course, I can't do that now with COVID, so I'm running the virtual lab. But what is going to happen is Izindaba Zokudla is going to become a flagship project in the School of Management at the University of Johannesburg. And I'm actually now today, since I spoke with you guys, I changed jobs. So I'm a senior lecturer in entrepreneurship now, and I'm running the National Diploma in Small Business. And the ideas I'm going to share today is really a little bit about what I want to do with that and what I want to do with Izindaba Zokudla.
So I think that's fantastic, a great way to start us off. I mean, food security issues are enormous at the moment, especially with the third wave. So I think particularly to kind of start us off, it would be really great to see what it is that we can do to increase production in our food in our cities and townships, and maybe you know, what are some of the strategies that you're doing. So please take away. Let's see what you're up to.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Benji, for allowing me to interrupt you there by sharing the screen. I'm always very mindful of time. So the ideas I'm talking about is actually quite important. And if you look at the first picture here, I hope you can see that. Can you see someone in a pack house? So this is someone who's working in a pack house, putting stickers on packaged vegetables. And if you actually look at the, you know, it's probably this person gets paid peanuts. He's probably got no labor contract, but he's putting stickers on, and just putting the sticker on actually is worth more in the food system than the farmer gets. And actually really, and this is the product, and actually this is really my first point. You know, farmers get between 12 and 15 and maximum about 27% of the food value chain. So everything I'm saying today is really in that context. Farmers are really beleaguered in the world, and this is the context wherein the question of how can urban agriculture feed us and make a difference. So this is also
just going to, someone is just asking if you can switch the presentation mode on your.
Yeah, I've tried. It doesn't want to go.
Okay, fine. Well, okay, I think we can see it.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So sorry about that. So this is just this is a really interesting picture, because it indicates the value that is available to entrepreneurs in the urban food system. So this is a cow being milked in Soweto, and someone just outside the picture, or someone's actually sitting there crying because this person hasn't had freshly milked cow's milk in many months, a migrant from the Eastern Cape. So, you know, this is just the value that is out there. Here's for much cheaper than you could buy a lamb at the shop. You just got to cut it up yourself. So it's about 1,400, it's about half price. You can buy a live lamb. This is in the middle of Soweto in Johannesburg. I mean, this is quite common in South Africa. The other thing that farmers need to understand is the highest quality food is only fresh food. So when I say that farmers get 27% of the food value chain at max, it is because fresh food is processed. And this is another issue when we speak of urban agriculture. To what extent can you process your food? So this is all homemade food right in front of you. This is at the Slow Food Terra Madre Festival. I'm so sorry, it has to be English cheese. Sorry, guys. But this is all homemade cheese. So, you know, the farmer can get maybe what, 10 cents for a cup of milk. But if that farmer can turn that cup of milk into a cheese, it's going to change quite a few things around the business. So what does it mean for South African businesses? Here's one of the first entrepreneurs I worked with at the Center for Small Business Development at UJ, which is now Center for Entrepreneurship. And we really started playing with the idea that if we are going to, you know, create a sustainable food system, in a food system that appropriates very little money to the farmer and gives even less of the money to the urban farmer, what can you do? So the only way is to capture the value chain. And what I want to talk about is actually 2 or 3 ways in which you can capture the value chain. So here's a picture of a farm, and please don't laugh. It is a farm in Orange Farm. So this is a farm of someone who farmed on an RDP house stand. That's like the state government housing. Very small stand, but he took the driveway and turned it into a little bit of a netting, and it became a food education center and a little nursery. So part of what you can see there is in this year, this entrepreneur sold 500,000 seedlings at R1.50 each, and he actually made a lot more money than I made. But he also grew very little vegetables. He actually taught people in the same space how to grow vegetables and became a trainer. And then you could source the vegetables and sell it from there. And and what he would do is he would have community education programs at the site, teach people what is good food. And we all know that is only fresh food, which any farmer can achieve, any farmer, even with very little land. And he would teach people that this is what you need to spend your food money on, and not spend it on Coca-Cola and other stuff. And, think back on the 27% of the value chain that the farmer owns. That means the supermarket makes 75% more than the farmer. So therefore, supermarket food is pretty expensive. So you as a farmer can actually make a really, really good living by selling food at less than retail level, and you will still beat the competition. You'll capture the market and you'll create a livelihood. So the way to do that, of course, is to create farmers markets. So this is a farmer market in the area where I live, and to start this process, and this is the Cleveland process. Every dollar or every unit of value that is created must circulate 3 times in the local community before it leaves. And if that is not done, there's absolutely no chance we will ever relieve poverty. And we cannot relieve food insecurity by growing food. I'm sorry, because no farmer can grow all the food that you need. So you have to have food trade. So we have to focus. The problem of hunger and food insecurity is really a problem of entrepreneurship and how we have created the food enterprise in the food system. So what do? So what we need to think about is how the community supports agriculture and how we can create a circular model for enterprises. So farmers can think about, cash on delivery. There are many community-supported agriculture models, cash on delivery, monthly deliveries, whatever is growing that month. Bulk buying is a really interesting thing. Also, bunches of consumers can invest in a farm to gain access to produce, and actually it's a form of a contracting of the farmer. It's a little bit different than a monthly subscription, but you get the picture. Also, regular farmers markets can be organized, and by farmers themselves or by communities. And what these things do is they enable the value chain to be appropriated by the farmer as much as possible. And also those who buy immediately from the farmer, let's say a local caterer or a chef or a restaurant, can actually access in a community supported system. And we really need to think about that if we are going to ever do this. Because if we don't do this, the farmer will always forever supply to supermarket systems which will exploit the farmer. And there are all kinds of environmental consequences to that, because the supermarkets demand very uniform produce, which really engenders the monoculture agricultural system, which engenders in turn mechanization and large land holdings, which in turn engenders chemical fertilizers and chemical processes. And there's very little space for regenerative agriculture. Although the big joke is that all these farmers who are so captured by the green revolution, they would probably make a lot more money if they just de-link from that and adopt regenerative systems. Anyway, so we need to think about that. In the urban agriculture context, that's very important about how a farmer builds relationships. So for instance, in your example I showed, why don't urban farmers who sell food, educate people about fresh food so people buy from them and not the supermarkets, but also exchange food waste, which they can turn into compost for produce. So therefore, poor people can bring waste and get fresh food. And now you are building a win-win situation in your marketing process. So this is about the sharing of risks, how farmers secure markets and farmers secure producers. So these kind of two-way streets can actually make a big difference because it lowers risk and farmers can plan their produce. Farmers can build trust with their customers, especially urban farmers, and they can develop deals and arrangement loyalty programs with people in the local area. And that can actually enable them to build these new kinds of businesses as a cultural phenomenon. And that becomes familiar. And that's important to think about it in that way. So why do you not start a business with no resources? This is what sustainability needs. If you really look around at all the bio-waste that's available, especially for urban farmers and urban farmers in the poor townships of South Africa, you can actually start profitably producing without any cash. You can also start a secondary enterprise on your farm and start recycling. You can build cultural and social capital with loyalty programs. Bio-waste will become valued in the community, and you can use WhatsApp, social media to do this. And what really will happen is now you are selling fresh food at lower than retail cost to your immediate community, which in the long term will impact on their health and their human development. And it's going to be really important. And this can be created for free with SMSs, WhatsApp, social media. So I've just engineered or connected farmers from the Tulamela Business Forum in Venda with spaza shops in Diepkloof, Soweto, and they can start buying from each other and start building a community-supported agricultural system. So you can even produce on 1 hectare, you can converge technology, food waste. And this is the other thing that an urban farmer must do, is to converge technology. Food waste must be fed to worms before it goes to compost, before it goes to the soil, which creates a produce that goes to the chickens, which creates waste, which goes to the worms. So if these circular systems are not built, the local farmer will not make money. It is really important to understand that the biological productivity is the capital productivity. So this is really what needs to happen. So water harvesting, water can clean solar panels, can water the garden. You can converge technology around those kind of technologies to gain efficiencies. Food waste can lead to food and loyalty programs or discount on food. And one can secure contracts with farmers with benefits for urban communities or spaza shops that can create savings for local urban agricultural enterprises or food enterprises. So these things are important. Sorry, I don't have anything else to show. And what I want to just say is that the only way an urban farmer will be able to create an effect in society is if this farmer can create a circular enterprise and really operationalize the externalities of the enterprise as productive inside the enterprise. And this is what we need to do, else they will forever be marginal and they will not have the productivity to compete and to produce the volumes of food that we need to address all the issues we are talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Naudé. I think that is super insightful and really gives us a nice framework from which we can think about some of the practical elements that we will be seeing tonight. And it's just really cool to see some of the things that are happening between some of our rural areas and some of our urban areas as well. So I think it was great and a really good intro into it. So and I hope actually at the end that you can share perhaps some readings for people if they want to dig deeper into some of these concepts. I think I'm a geographer by training, so some of this reminds me of when I was back at Foots. So that was fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you. So now let's look a little bit more practically, or as at a practical example, really in an urban area. And our next panelist is Siyabonga Glagmangla. You're gonna have to correct me, sir, about that. I apologize. Siyabonga is a BSc in biological sciences from the University of Zimbabwe, and he studied IT at Rosebank College and undertook a professionals device studies at the University of Johannesburg. And he's currently exploring urban farming in the city based at the Makers Valley Partnership Project, which focuses on food security and sustainable backyard gardening. Siyabonga is currently working on food production distribution systems at Victoria Yards. And of course, if you've been to Victoria Yards at all, you will know that it's a really interesting part of the city. It's right there by Nando's head office. you can get a really nice pair of jeans and a cup of coffee. And also, as you walk around, you will see the sort of agriculture that is going on. There's lots of kind of permaculture and lots of different vegetables all over the place. And it's part of the sort of the retail environment, which is fairly unusual, I would say, in a South African context, at least. So Sibonga, maybe you can talk to us about some of the food security issues that you're seeing on the ground, and what has it been like working at Victoria Yards, and some of the challenges that I'm sure, but I'm sure also some of the successes for a project like that.
Thanks, Benji. Good evening, panelists and viewers back at home. Benji, like to answer your question or about the topic of today, can we really be able to achieve sustainable food security in the urban areas? It's arguable. I mean, like for me, what really touches me the most, like, is the food waste that we obviously seeing in our cities. There's so much food that comes to the city and also not consumed accordingly. So that on its own is just like it's the biggest challenge. Through my practice, obviously, in the urban areas, and I've obviously been working a lot with different communities, trying to develop, help them have this backyard garden. Just to have, for me, I think it's more like the idea, mostly just to have like an urban backyard garden, because there's quite a lot that challenge that we face. We're obviously looking at obviously, like the communities that I'm actually based at, like it's really low income communities, meaning that you're obviously seeing a lot of people that do have interest in growing food in the backyards of their houses. However, then there's also the need to balance with can it really sustain that household? So one household, they would rather build a shack or something in the backyards of their house than having a garden, because they're looking at the time it takes them to grow the gardens. And then there's a water issue. Water is quite expensive in the city. So really the suburb side of the South African cities, like it's quite expensive to live there. However, and then in townships could be like easier due to there's a little bit more of space that you could use. And also what really happens is that like in the urban environment, like whoever that got access to that land, they were really looking to develop properties or just really something that can bring more income. So most of the open spaces, they're quite difficult to secure and then be able to produce food. But food is really like an important fundamental that one needs, at least if you can have that watching your veggies grow every day, it really prepares your mindset, like in a sense that like you're not just really waiting on nothing, but if you really have that constant working with your gardens or have a dog or something, just something that really can actually help your mind to really connect in a way. So urban farming is really it's an interesting topic. I think like I did also farm like growing up like back in KZN myself. And then however, then it obviously felt like something that I didn't enjoy it at the time. But later in life, then I started realizing like how much importance it was for me to get that experience that I got at the time. And also just to sort of like now I can use that practice in my everyday life. So things like those, like they're quite important for us. So, and then like we do have a conversation where we share with the guys like Dr. Malan. We mostly engage in different platforms and mostly different topics within the food system in the urban environment. It's really like now you start looking at can I really get like an organic food in the city, and then there's hydroponic growing as well. Then there's aquaponic, like this whole variety of way of producing food these days, which is interestingly because we're growing up, like we've seen that like the only space that you might have, it's on the roof, and then that's where like and then people start looking at the rooftop farming, which is also just like an interesting practice something that might be like part of the solution of really growing your own food in a city, as opposed to any piece of land that is available currently, then it's rather used to build something on it or save for something else. So it's really quite a tricky topic, but a very interesting to engage on and see what other solution maybe we can actually come up with, or that we've already tried, and see if how can we then better understand, or how can we then better be able to play a role in this food sector, especially in food insecurity that we're facing in the country. As much as, like I was saying earlier, that like we're facing food insecurity, however, we still have so much food waste that is actually filling up the landfills of this country. So it's just really like a very tricky situation. And then there's global warming and all of the other issues. But maybe like I'll just like to stop here for now, and then maybe we can engage later.
Sure. Before we do that, I mean, I'd really love to maybe just draw out your process a little bit. You know, if people have been to Victoria Yards, you see the vegetables there, you sort of even have to walk through them in some respects to get to the shops. You know, when you're doing the planting and that sort of thing, what are you thinking about, and what has kind of been the results? Are you using the food? Are you is it goes to the surrounding community? How have you found it as an input in terms of the Victoria Yards precinct?
So for me, like I was very fortunate to be part of Victoria Yard design of the farm, and also just like how they actually then tends to be today. And then even though like I'm just really not really fully involved due to, and then Victoria is just meant to showcase what can be achieved in the surrounding community, because where Victoria is built, then if you look at the surrounding houses, like there's very like a low earning people. So then that's where for me like the need is really where just where I'm obviously just doing like street gardens. I have this concept obviously where I really would want to plant like hundreds avocado trees like within the community, just to try and then supplement any trees with food trees that can actually just help this community in terms of them getting better themselves as well. So the street gardens, then like it's obvious just like a going great project where you just plant on the pavement gardens, and then where community can also just enjoy that food that is being produced on those street pavement. So the also just very quick one, also like the food that is being that the veg that you find in Victoria, obviously just supply the local community, and then also the staff that is just like around the president as well.
Sibonga, that's really, really great. And I think that we're seeing a lot of questions coming through that we'll be able to also engage on at the end. But that gives us a really nice overview of what's going on at Victoria Yards. And I think after lockdown, definitely go and you can go and check it out if you haven't done so. So with that, we'll move on to our next guest for the evening, Dorit Chassid. Dorit is a graduate from Tel Aviv University, and she studied philosophy and graduated with an MA with distinction. She has also completed a course in social responsibility and a social media course. Dorit has worked at the IACC, which is the Israel Association of Academic Centers, as a volunteer program manager in the business sector, and she's been the corporate social responsibility and internal communications manager for Coca-Cola Israel, and the internal communications manager at Motorola Solutions. Dorit is currently the sustainability manager at the Dizengoff Center shopping mall in Israel. And if you haven't been to Israel or to Tel Aviv specifically, I actually will just take a couple of moments to explain, just to give you a bit of a context, because Tel Aviv is only a city that's about 100 years old, similar to Johannesburg in that respect, and also kind of started out very agriculturally. You can still see some of the old orange trees that are in some of the old neighborhoods, but very much it's now a high-tech city with a very strong central CBD kind of look, and with some very large shopping malls. In fact, the Dizengoff Center is like the main shopping mall in Tel Aviv, and it looks kind of similar to like the Mall of Africa. It has that kind of sort of large conical and squarish look to it. So it's very interesting to get a perspective of what this means in terms of sustainability and in terms of agriculture, and that's why we brought Dorit on to understand how they do this kind of agriculture in the center, and just get a sense of it. So thank you so much for joining us from Israel, Dorit, and very happy to have you. Welcome. You're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. So, hello everyone. I will be glad to share my presentation. Can you see it?
We can see it, Dorit. Won't you click on present? There we go. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay. So let's go back. So this is Dizengoff. Hello everyone. So I'm the sustainability manager of Dizengoff Center Shopping Mall, and in a minute we will explain why we need a sustainability department in a shopping mall. So I will try to skip the contents and we go straight to the business. So first of all, Dizengoff Center is a very unique place. It's not an ordinary shopping mall. It has few characters that makes it different from other shopping malls in Israel. It's the first and the oldest one. It was established in 1977. And it's designed to be a continuation of the street. It designs like a street. I will not enter into all the details here, but it's the most important thing. It's located inside a very intensive neighborhood in the middle of the heart of Tel Aviv. And we are surrounded with families and children and young people and old people. And the location is very unique. It's not out of the city. And we have lots of communication with the community. So first of all, always decades ago, Dizengoff Center was always a kind of shopping mall that has lots of communication with the community around it. It's a communal area, like we were the first food market in Israel because we wanted to give place to people who cook at home and want to share their food. We also, you can see on the left side, a social gallery. We let artists share their craft and what they do in our shopping mall. And it's, of course, it's a win-win because it's goes for both sides. We also have lots of communication with the homo-lesbian community in Tel Aviv. We got some recognition from them. We have playgrounds for children. We have every year a kind of a kiddie market, it's called. Kids come and sell their stuff. We allow dogs in. We have free lockers for bikers, and we do all kinds of things that support the community around us. And all this comes to a point where the managers, the owners of this place, decided about 8 years ago to establish a sustainability department. It started from a very liberal and open-minded place. And then they went to study the issue, and they decided that we must start working really seriously with sustainability. So the concept of sustainability in our shopping mall is that we have there is a triangle, and it contains community, environment, and economy. So society is, of course, we try to have a more equal and fair society concerning all our employees, vendors, visitors, and the people who own the shops. Ecology is, of course, to lower our impact over the environment, and economy is to create, with whatever we do, an economical model, because otherwise it will not survive, it will not be sustainable. A good example for this was that during the Corona crisis, the sustainability department kept working, and we established a new sustainability school for children. I will tell you about it in the next slides. So why are we doing this? In fact, the shopping mall is quite the opposite of sustainability. We encourage people to consume a lot. We have lots of waste. We use lots of resources. So why, in fact, we are doing this? The answer is exactly because of these reasons, because we try to balance and to lower our impact, to be more fair with the community around us, and to create a sustainable concept of a business, of a big business. So concerning community, we have, as I said, we have a school teaching children all about sustainability. We have lots of tours, and we bring people to see. What you see in the lower picture is we have in the cellar, in the lower floor, we have bats. Bats, the animal, you know, the mammal. So we bring people to see the bats, and we teach them about the importance of bats to the ecosystem. And we do a lot of not common things, but the most important things we did concerning social matters is we have direct employment. Like in Israel, most of the big places or institutions, they have all the cleaning personnel and all the people who keep the guards and all this, they are normally contractors. The company buy their hours and use the hours of working. And we have direct employment. All our employees are the company employees. They get all the social conditions, and they get much better conditions than in other places. So this was a great shift that happened about 9 or 10 years ago. Concerning environment, we do, of course, we do a lot of actions to lower our user, to improve the usage of energy. To lower our emissions, and we just announced that we're going to, by 2028, to balance all our emissions, the greenhouse gases emissions. And we do lots about our waste, like we had lots of tons of cardboards. All the stuff that comes to the shopping mall comes in cardboards, and we, of course, send them to recycling, but we also sell cardboards for people who want to move from apartment to another. And all the money we get from this, we give to the employees, to their salaries. We also recycle electronic waste, and we are going to do a great experiment, a great pilot. We're going to enter into the shopping mall a very, very big composter, which normally stay in farms, in great farms. We are going to enter it into the cellar and to get all the organic waste from the shopping mall into this composter. We get some trees, flakes of trees we get also to the composter, and we're going to get a very good compost from the other side. So it's a big pilot that we are starting now these days. And we also have, all this is inside the shopping mall, but the most important thing is that we established an urban sustainability park on the rooftop, and we have there many interesting things to do. So let's have a look what we have on our rooftop. This is a small picture of it. First of all, we have there all kinds of initiations, all kinds of startups or people who NGOs and people want to show what they do. They come there and they have their corner and they show what they do. So one thing is a biodynamic beehives corner. We have a few beehives on the rooftop. We grow them for a few years now, and we grow them in a natural way. We do not harvest the honey. We do not do anything to harm the bees. We just let them be there. And the idea is that, of course, you know, there is a phenomenon called the colony collapse disorder. Bees are disappearing, and they're very important to the world. They do about 80% of the pollination of the world. If Albert Einstein said years ago that if there are no bees, there will be, after 4 years, there will be no humanity at all. The humankind will not exist without bees. So all over the world and also on our rooftop, we grow bees. You can see the beehives right here, and you can see children come and learn about the bees, because we teach in our school everything that goes up on the roof. We teach the children. And here, I hope I can show you, I missed it. There was a little video, but I missed it, sorry. So I thought I put it in, but I didn't, okay. Another project we have there is you can see the small trees here, and you can see the children planting. So every year in Tu B'Shvat there is a Jewish holiday concerning the trees and nature, and the habit is to come and plant trees every Tu B'Shvat. So we bring every Tu B'Shvat in this holiday. We bring about 1,500 children, and they plant small trees on the rooftop, and then we put it in this. We put it here on the roof, and we grow it for 1 year. The reason is that if we plant these trees when they are small, they will not survive, but we grow it and make it stronger. And then when it's ready for planting, we send it, we donate it to many places all over the country to plant it. We get, by the way, we get the trees from Kakal, from Keren Kayemet. So we do this every year, and what we do is this project, in fact, we balance about 30% of our emissions, of our greenhouse emissions. I will explain it. It's a little bit hard maybe to understand. We use lots of energy, lots of electricity, and while producing electricity, in fact, we create lots of emissions. So we have, I report the Ministry of Environment, I report exactly the amount of emissions we have, and then once we grow these trees, we have a number of in tons CO2 they emit, and then we balance every year. We are committed to balance every year about 30% of our emissions. So this is another project, and another one is we have hydroponic farm on the rooftop. We used to have a much larger farm. It used to be a real agriculture project, and they worked there for a few years. This is only a small one. They worked for a few years on the rooftop, and they sold vegetables to about 15 restaurants all over around us. But it's closed now because we couldn't economically, it was not very, very successful. And this is something to learn maybe, because the regulations were too rough with us. Like we had to pay municipality tax that was very, very high, not like an agricultural place, but like a commercial place, like it's one of the floors of the shopping mall. We didn't have water reduction for agriculture, and we had to pay lots of money because Israel is not yet prepared for something like this, because rooftop agriculture is not considered as agriculture. So we had to close the farm. But we have this little farm left, and what we teach people and children who come to visit us, that's what these are the values of this greenhouse. So first of all, it's urban farming. We shortened the distance from farm to table. Sorry. We grow our own food. It's all grown on water. These pools are. In fact, it's a water pools. There is only water here, no soil at all, and we grow it on water. So we save about 80% of the water because the water are not going into the soil. We do not use chemicals, we do not spray it, and we do not pollute the soil because the fertilizers we put are going only into the water. And there is another, you see the pool with the fish here, it's called aquaponic. It's another system where the emissions of the fish goes to you can't see it here, but there is another kind of a place where plants are grown, and it's circular, like the emissions of the fish goes to the plants, and then the cleaned water going back to the pool for the fish. So it's another system that you can grow in faraway places because it's circular and it's a closed system, except for a little bit of food for the fish. And yeah.
Sorry, yeah, just a few more minutes left till the end of your presentation.
Okay, sorry. So this is another thing we do on the rooftop. And in fact, this is it. We have some few more things, but I will not go into it.
That's perfect. I think a really, really nice summary of what's going on in the Dizengoff Center. And I think the growing was as interesting as everything else. I've actually shopped at Dizengoff before, but I clearly didn't partake of any of the really interesting parts of it. I just went to get a book, so I'll have to do that next time. So thank you for joining us. I see there's a lot of questions in the chat about different things, and some of those are being answered as we speak, which is fantastic. But just after Clive, who's coming next, we will have a question and answer session where you will have an opportunity to ask any questions and engage. So just so everyone knows that I haven't stopped to ask questions just for the sake of time, but we will do a Q&A after we introduce Dr. Clive Greenstone, who is a lecturer and researcher with over 12 years experience in reputable tertiary institutions. He has a PhD in development studies from the University of KwaZulu-Natal and has received several awards for sustainable design innovation in the built environment. He's worked on various projects that deal with urban design, sustainable development, urban ecology, urban resilience, urban landscape activation. And he is the founder of Green Roof Designs, which is a specialized environmental design company. And for all of you who are wondering, well, how does this all apply to me and what is it that I can do in my own personal capacity? I'm hoping that Clive's presentation will help us in that direction and really just give us a sense about what is possible when it comes to these sorts of things, the sustainability level, at the practical level, and at perhaps the household and the school level as well. So Clive, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks very much, everybody. And it's good to know there's a few people with dirt under their fingernails out there. So obviously avid gardeners, which is good. My late parents always said to me, don't trust anyone who's got no dirt under their fingernails. And I think that stands quite true. But yes, I just want to quickly set the scene. So my specialty is green infrastructure, urban ecology. So where it ties in quite nicely with the debate around here is it is one component of urban greening, and obviously it ties into urban agriculture. So I do mess around with both of those things, but more so, I would say I'm an urban ecologist by trade. So I'm more around ecosystems, and our cities are actually living systems. And that's where urban agriculture actually comes into it. So the main problem we're dealing with here, folks, is that we have so much wasted space in cities, so much wasted space. As you can see, that's Durban. That's me plotting the potential urban agriculture and green roofs that we could do on these buildings in the city. And I'll just show you a little bit later some of the statistics or some of the measurements that were done. And again, little research being done on this stuff locally. Internationally, there's been a significant amount of research going on. I was dabbling with green roofs in about 2004. Again, very new to South Africa. So we have come up against a lot of political and structural and engineering conservative minds, really. But let's move on. I'll try taking a bit of a journey around how interesting this type of work could be. That's just a research I was doing on the city's buildings. Just look at it there's rain gauges there, there's stormwater management flow techniques, there's urban heat island effect, couplers in the concrete. So there's lots of stuff going on there from a scientific point of view. So I'm going to offer you more of a scientific lens going forward. Okay, this is one of the roofs we did at the City Engineers Department. Again, not so much urban agriculture, but we're looking at different types of systems we could utilize to grow plants primarily, obviously, and then eventually urban agriculture. So what we began to find out was that it's important for us to understand the different types of issues that we're going to come up against when we talk about rooftop agriculture in general. And that's going to be location. The structural capacity of the roof is very much key. The last thing you want is a roof falling down on someone's head, and that closes rooftop gardening all over the world. Done. And it's been a few cases of that. So it's quite interesting. You need a bit of a structural background there, the roof slope, the type of roof, where the wind is, how the wind is eating around there, where the shades are, etc., and obviously the drainage materials. And as people were saying, technology is very important in this process. So you can see initially the first start we did there, the modular systems, they recycle high density polyethylene trays. I've painted them, even though people must still copy them, please. So these are basically, they hold 4 liters of water in their reservoirs, and they're able to feed plants. There's better ones out there, which I've developed going forward. So this is just the capacity that can be done on a rooftop, okay? And the thinnest layer we've got at the moment, I'm growing stuff in 2 centimeters of brick and compost. So we are pushing the boundaries significantly we are chasing demolishers and taking all their crushed bricks. So we're trying to close cycles as we perform. All the air conditioning units have been tapped into a storage unit, into water tanks on these buildings. This is totally indigenous on the site, endemic, most of it. Everything comes from the 50K radius of the building, so it's very much ecologically friendly. And we want to keep all our plants, most of them are rescue plants, so we're trying to keep everything within a 50K radius. Otherwise, what's the point? You just basically creating more environmental damage. There's solar panels on here to record the loading. I'll go a bit more. Here's a stormwater management attenuation control system. Sorry, I talk very fast, so just slow me down. What you see here is I measured a whole bunch of stormwater runoff on a blank roof as opposed to a green roof. We worked out the leachage in a massive rainfall event, how much is retained, how much is restored, and how much is wasted when there's no plants on a roof, whether that be vegetable plants or whether it be indigenous endemic species. Here's a quick benchmark. I've got much more recent data, but I put this together very quickly. And you can see in 2012, some of the statistics here, you can see just quickly when it rained, when the rain gauge measured 128 millimeters, the blank roof disposed about 51 liters a minute. There's a lot of water coming off a 50 square meter roof in an extreme rainfall event. And you can see the green roofs were able to actually bring it right down to 1.84 liters a minute, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously this also reaches a saturation rate and then it doesn't perform as well as it should. However, what I'm after here is the first flush system that affects our infrastructure in cities. Again, you can see another example down there in 2013, very similar. Again, the blank roof, 215 liters across all the green roofs on a 3 or 2 year period. So we can see there's significant data out there that is telling us the results. And obviously this data has been used to hopefully inform policy, but as we know, the political malaise that exists in our country, this data has been with them for 8 years and they haven't made any form of stormwater management attenuation fee or rate increase, et cetera, et cetera. What you see in front of you here is thermocouplings. They are in the concrete. They're measuring the heat of the building that's got plants on top of it and plants that have not got on top of it. So you can see already in 2013, 3rd of January, the hottest day recorded in that year. If you look at 1 o'clock there, you can see we're reaching 70 degrees on the blank roof. You can't even walk barefoot on there. So you can only imagine the thermal heat transfer that is going into that building that's affecting air conditioning costs, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see how the green roofs are way below 30 degrees difference. Again, totally viable solution. And the Stevenson's cream, which is basically the ambient air temperature that kills people when it comes to urban heat island effects, usually the elderly and the young who can't make it down from their flat, et cetera, et cetera. So the Stevenson cream was a really good indication for us regarding how we could keep the ambient heat very much at a certain level that was bearable, should I say. There's so much more slides, but I wanted to very quickly go through them. I've got about 1,000 slides here, but we'll go quick. Again, here we go, a study from 2010, 2013, looking at the blank roof averages over the summer months, 35.9 degrees, averaging, and the green roofs 25.9 degrees, 10 degrees difference. And that is a substantial amount of energy being transferred and being absorbed into these processes. Again, over a 7-year period, we can start to see already close to a 10 degree, 8 degree difference. So even over a longer period, the green roof still performs as well as it did in the very first instance. Obviously, the stormwater management would have adjusted as the flora begins to grow on top of the soil. This is my beautiful, this is my speciality, insects and biodiversity. They're so key. So it ties in so well to what everyone's talking about, urban agriculture. Without our pollinators, we are absolutely doomed. So here's a really good example of some of the species that we trapped on the roof, on one of the roofs we did. And you can see on the right, a golden orb spider. I haven't seen those for like 14 years. It arrived on my roof. It's a female. Don't know how she got there. Fig tree blue, another garden orb, and obviously the African monarch butterfly. So what we'll be able to do now through this process of looking at our roofs, we're able to tell you what species will arrive, will be attracted by a certain plant, what plant will attract a certain species, and therefore the species itself will continue its life cycle on that roof. And that's what we're trying to gauge what is those species, what are they? Okay, so here's the insect period. It's a very short period, a couple of months. In 2010, we did these statistics and we recorded about 2,500 different insects across different orders, as opposed to the control roof, we only recorded 130. So you can just see the difference that plants make to a rooftop in an inner city area where they're already being jeopardized because of development. Again, the orders that were tracked, fascinating statistics. We look at some of the stuff that was coming out. Most of the insects we were finding from order-wise was the Dipteria, the flies themselves. You know, the control only had 198 flies, and then the green roof had 5,899 flies. So, and then people, oh, flies, oh my God, no. But flies, actually, people are some of our significant pollinators, believe it or not. They do pollinate for us. So we've got to be very careful how we judge these poor little insects. They're also decomposers. The next one was the bees and the wasps, a nice count, and obviously the butterflies. Birds are very interesting. We've had birds breeding on our roofs. I had a sunbird couple breeding on a roof by the harbour entrance at JNF, the oil industry there. And we had 2 green mambas also on the roof. I sighted 2 green mambas on the roof. So that was fascinating. I know where they're there. They came to eat the sunbird's eggs. So perfect. Some people will freak out. They don't want these things on roofs, but hey, the closer we are to nature, the more biophilic we really are. And here are some lovely statistics. Again, 10,468 species of insects were discovered or trapped over a 3-year period, as opposed to the control with only 231. I mean, it's the numbers just add up. Here's another project I've just finished for Transnet, a corporate type of social responsibility project, where they tried to look at their being green, even though Transnet we know is not a green entity at all. But we played along and we wanted to try to create something for the staff themselves. So this is the first phase. The second phase will be a total rooftop farm growing food for staff. So yeah, I just show you the process that actually takes place. And it's not rocket science, but you kind of need to understand the layers and understand saturation and pooling of water and full bore drainage, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously the first thing you do, you need to look at the integrity of the existing waterproofing membrane. Once that's intact and you've got the kilonewtons force being covered by the structural engineer, you can work out your square meter loading. And therefore, obviously, we can bank underneath that, depending what type of growing medium we need to create to do that. So the spec was everything within a 50K radius, everything must be recyclable, and then we obviously did our rollout. And again, quite a process. We used recycled decking to increase obviously the look of the rooftop garden for the clients and for people who are visiting Transnet. Just on the left here, you can see that horrible brutalistic type of architecture is actually SARS, the South African Revenue Service. So we used to have them all looking onto our building. So I'm waiting for them to get a green roof on top. And that's kind of what it looks like a little bit, about a few months ago. We can see again, all the stuff is sourced locally within a 50K radius. I'm just keeping quiet so we can just visualize. Here's a different roof. This roof has 98 medicinal plants on it. So it's the most biodiverse roof in the world. And it has, as I said, 98 medicinal plants of intense value, which again is a whole different market around urban agriculture, especially around what's happening out in the wild with traditional healers excavating and taking medicinal plants. So I'm in the process of trying to cross a cultural barrier around how to harvest medicinal plants in a city on a rooftop, because all the medicinal plants that I grow on city rooftops already are found in Warwick beauty market. So it's about trying to create those connections where we can save the exterior environment and keep it contained in the CBD. So that's still busy ongoing. That's for another day. So there again, you can see the differences in the landscapes. This was a Green Star accredited building. I think they're one of the first ones. It's a Sonke Ilikopo. Again, most of these plants are rescue plants and they're medicinal and obviously occur within a 50K radius of this building. This was a big of a challenge for us. We were asked by the city, this is the sand bypass pump station. A lot of the time we're getting requests for the city to put green roofs or rooftop types of agriculture, in a sense, I suppose you could say, on big substations to minimize the electrical buzz and the effect it has on surrounding areas, obviously the heat, etc. coming in. So this is on quite close to it's about 7 meters on the left, on the right-hand side from the actual harbour entrance. Massive issues here around salt tolerance stuff. Again, urban agriculture, growing food in Durban is very, very different to growing food in Joburg. And I think we have very different conditions. Again, that's why it's very important to understand that before we go forward. Again, a very fascinating project, 50K radius, etc. So you can see it does work. These things work, and these are just a different type of tray that is utilized, not a veg tray, but more of a green roof tray. So that was a successful one for us regarding different types of plants we could utilize in different types of areas. This is inside Transnet. So this is one thing we're trying to focus on now, is growing food indoors under lights. So that's another direction I think, well, I am heading that way with in the company per se, but we're having some really good success out of it, looking at new technologies going forward. So that's what it looks like blank, and that's what it looks like grown. Okay, it's all under grow lights, different types of red and blue specks. And the next venture is to grow food like this, obviously, in foyers of buildings. That's another job we just finished, or not just finished. That's on Umhlanga Ridge. Again, vertical gardens. These are very easy to actually do if you know what you're doing. And the climatic advantages are intense. They're absolutely intense, just as much as vertical gardens as opposed to green roof gardening or rooftop gardening. The benefits are just the same in a sense. It's a bit of a close-up. And there's another one we just recently did for a private customer. This is where I want to head as a form of research. Even I still believe myself that food should be grown in soil. I know it sounds odd, but it's just something about dirt and food. The water thing's brilliant, and I think the aquaponics and the fish pooing and doing this thing is fantastic. I have dabbled with it a bit. There are obviously some issues around animal ethics, etc., on rooftops, in urban agriculture. Here's another one that was more around urban agriculture, growing food. This was for the COP11 we initiated for the city of Durban. It came out. This is the priority zone. It was a venture between a private entity, type of a public-private partnership. And I think this is exactly what we're all trying to say here. We can't do this alone. It has to come together in a type of new form of urban management. It has to. The state cannot reach every single corner of our land, should I say. So this is the roof blank before it was installed, and that's what it looks like now. Well, not now, this is early days, and it's highly successful, this priority zone. It basically started off, again, recycled stuff. All these things you see, all those pallets were found on the streets. All these tires were found outside tire places, etc., etc. So it started off with that understanding that you can't go and buy new. You have to retrofit. Systems in Africa, and especially in South Africa, are aged. They are stuffed. Our infrastructure is finished. We have to somehow retrofit to allow our infrastructure to adapt. And I suppose when you look at urban resilience and green infrastructure, this is where growing food in cities actually starts to take place. And this is where it should be. Again, outdoor growing tunnels were utilized, special types of zip core drainage. And we've now converted the whole area now. I wish I had a more recent photograph. I just couldn't get access to it because of COVID. We've now we are growing so much food in boots and shoes and the most oddest things, you know, and they work. These things work. I just wish I had a better photograph to show you, but you can grow anything in anything, really. It's another look at it. Again, another angle. You can put a little chest thing up there for a type of social place, etc. A lot of old drums were used. And there's our half fives. We had 5 of these. And then the law changed. So we managed to obtain a queen from a very passive hive in Botanic Gardens. She had been used to used to people walking past the hive. So the bees were quite passive. And we managed to take her away. And we got a whole colony going. Yeah, 4 or 5. They call them half fives. And they're very small bee hives. And I know, just as Dorette was saying, that they don't like to use the honey. Unfortunately, in this case, we did. And we were producing about 15 liters of honey every 3 months, roughly. We were really pumping. And again, now the bylaws have changed. You cannot have bees within, I think, 150 or 300 meters from a human being. I mean, really, do me a favor, or beehive. So that was changed. And with the changing of the political guard in Durban, this project itself fell down and they wanted to close it. So we really fought hard. And it's now formed part of the city's architectural department. Just to expand.
Sorry, 4 minutes and then we
No, I'm almost done. I'm flying. And this is a treadle pump. We pump water using exercises there. You stand and thing and it pumps the water up and it circulates and it obviously waters the garden. So we let our employees actually try and get fit. And this is my house quite a while back. So everyone who says they can't do this at home is talking absolute rubbish, absolute compost. This is my house. It's on a corrugated roof type of thing. These are the trays that I've designed. And just to show you how possible it is to grow in such small spaces without needing any form of actual garden, should I say. You can see the success that I have just in a couple of trays. And again, I'm not trying to, these aren't fake, they are real. So it definitely works, people. There's a scope for rooftop agriculture. There's a certain angle. There's another tray we've developed, which is a self-watering tray. It holds about 15 liters of water in its reservoir at any given one time, and therefore it's able to pull the water up through a wicking action. And this is the new green roof, or should I say rooftop farming type of product we're looking at. Again, it doesn't have to be like this. It can also be in situ, where we plant directly on the roof. So there's different ways. Unfortunately, you need a deeper type of soil substrate to actually get those veg going. There's another one. We can look and see how it does involve. It's far better, stronger growing than it is regarding the other green roof trays. This is an initiative that just happened behind the Elangeni Hotel just before COVID-19. Homeless people came together. They were housed in a certain area. And now these homeless guys, most of them are foreigners too. These guys are now supplying Boxer chainsaw. There's the massive chainsaw called Boxer. They now supply Boxer with spinach. So again, closing the loops that Nadia was talking about, I think it's very important going forward. And this is, if I could just end, this is the statistic overlay I did. You can see that's that study area I looked at where you could grow food as well, and obviously green roof plants. And you can see the green areas are the roofs that can actually structurally take this type of loading. So you can just see already the amount of space that is wasted. And obviously all these fragmented landscapes will hopefully link into other types of green corridors, whether it be green infrastructure, whether it be urban agricultural sites. They're all very important. But I always think the way forward with urban agriculture for me, for the future, definitely is around productive landscapes. And I think Siyabonga was even mentioning when he talked about avo trees, 100%. I think we should be looking more at things what they call food forests. Food forests are endemic, they're local, they are trees that provide us actually with food we don't even know that's there. So a food forest is a permanent system. Once you plant it, it's permanent. And that's another way of also looking at growing food using food forest techniques and the way that they design the canopy system to create different types of growth. It's a whole different ballgame going on. Police stations, for me, have to have food gardens outside them to make them much softer and appeal. Places of worship, or place of worship, be having food gardens. Municipal offices, we know that already. Tertiary education facilities. I was trying to grow food for starving students at UKZN on top of a building, and it was shut down. Schools, around sports fields, tennis courts, balconies, walkways, libraries, kind of an eat your city type of thing. The one issue that I found, I've lost my train of thought now. I think, taxi ranks again, transport interchanges where people can see this type of venture taking place. This to me is the future. We should be growing food on tops of buses. We should be growing food on tops of on bus stops. And I was going to see Siyabonga's comment very quickly around planting. I think the new future landscape design for cities is actually productive landscapes. And I saw someone on the chat there said it, and it's about one endemic tree, one indigenous tree, one fruit tree, one vegetable tree. It's about that, because you cannot have only food in the city. It will not survive the long term. We have to have strong ecological stability from an ecosystem point of view. Otherwise, there's no point even trying agriculture, because they feed into each other. I mean, I know from growing both, I can see the relationship that indigenous plants have with food plants because of their predator-prey relationship with bacteria and with disease entering into these places. And I think in South Africa, we are a hotspot in Durban, or in South Africa, we're a hotspot for biodiversity, and we need to also begin to embrace that. And I think my last closing thing, I would say, is that what about, and I know we were mentioning about Portlacaria afra, and I agree with Nordia, they're interesting, they are highly edible. Everyone eats, I eat it, everyone eats it. And we do know, and as you mentioned, there is a carbon sequestration rate on the Portlacaria afra, and it fetches about $50 a ton carbon sequestration at the moment. And if we were to plant some of these roots just with Portlacaria afra, we could start trading carbon. Second of all, endangered species could be planted on rooftops to secure them. Specifically our grassland species. We can utilize rooftops to cycle water back through a wetland system and back into another system. Final closing space, brilliant ideas often receive violent opposition from mediocre minds. End there. Awesome. Thanks everyone for listening to my baffling on.
Thank you, Clive. That was fantastic. I think really interesting to see some of the stuff that's happening, and hopefully anyone who is a skeptic of growing anything in everything apparently will have changed their mind by the end of that particular presentation. So I'm going to open up for questions for people who've had so many questions in the chat and over time in just a moment, but just to take a quick detour and say thank you to everyone for being here tonight, and particularly the team who helped put it together, Gordon and Megan, who put a huge amount of work into finding everyone, and thank you to David on the technical side, and the guys from the inner city, from the Johannesburg inner city project partnership. They've been really great, and yeah, and thank you to the JNF team for putting together, and to all of our guests for taking time out to hang out with us. Some of you on the chat will know that there's a tradition in the Jewish community where if you have a birth or a bar mitzvah or a wedding, then you buy someone a tree in a forest in Israel. So, and you get a certificate with it. So for all the participants and the people who help make it together, we're going to buy you all a certificate, and you'll get a tree planted in Israel as part of
as long as it's indigenous, Benji. As long as it's indigenous to Israel, then you can plant it.
Yeah, no, they definitely, they don't, that was back in the old days where they used to have all these fires and whatever. So we'll do it. And if anybody else wants to get one, you can just check out our Facebook page, the Jewish National Fund of South Africa. You can see all the certificates there, and also what we're going to be doing, some growing for Mandela Day. We've got some interesting stuff for kids. So do look out there if you are interested. So that's that side of it. So many questions, and the biggest problem I have at the moment is just trying to find the questions from all the people who just had such a good time, which is great. One big question has been, please can we contact this person, please can we contact that person, how do we get hold of you? So if maybe if you're from the first of all, just put Bev or David's email address in there, so you can just contact the JNF and we can put you in touch with anyone. But Clive or Nadir or Sibonga, if you want to just put your email addresses in for people, that would be great, so that they can be in contact. And other people wanting to know, will they get to see the presentation? Yes, we will email that out to everyone. Let's just go back to the beginning, the issue of rats, and you know what role they solve in the you know, in the urban ecology. Should they have licenses? Do they need their own area codes for some of the size of the ones that we've seen at places like Alex and that sort of thing where I've hung out? What do we do about rats? How do we think about them in terms of the agricultural system in urban areas? Anyone want to? Yeah, no, yeah, because I saw you answer.
You know, rats eat. And there's very little in the environment. I mean, there's some stuff that they can eat. They would eat baby birds and things like that, strelitzia seeds and stuff. But you know, generally in squatter camps and heavy places, they're eating food waste that we throw away. And it's the easiest thing to properly process your food waste. Just put it in a container where rats can't get and wait, and then after 6 weeks, you can stick your hands in it, you can put it in your mouth. It's compost, you know. So it's actually a very simple solution, but you know, we are biophilic, phobic. We are so scared of the ecosystem. We are worried they're going to come and eat us every night, and they don't. You know, like, it's only lions that eat us, and there's not many left. You know, so we really need to understand that nature is our friend.
Thanks for that. Yes, definitely. Some more compost is needed. Clive, do you have a position there?
Yeah. Just to add on to what Nadir was saying, there are alternate ways of dealing with vermin and other types of species in cities. So we plant a lot of Lana falcon boxes, black sparrowhawks, and we try and do it in the city itself to obviously chase away pigeons and obviously look after the vermin control. So again, a very important role they play in our urban context. So yeah, there is ways of controlling, albeit it's a little bit slower, but they definitely were utilized initially in about 10 when I was doing falconry at the bird park. We utilized it to chase away pigeons in the Ishaka Marine area when they were doing their construction work, because the pigeons were causing a hell of a lot of problems. So we actually used biological control. So there are other ways of doing it, but yes, I mean, rats, rats are a product of us, you know.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So, all right. Thank you for answering the rat question. We have two questions regarding roofs and swimming pools. So one saying, is there anything we can do to reinforce roofs if we're concerned that there might be a cave-in? And someone's saying, I have a big swimming pool. Anything I can use it for?
Okay, shall I just, the roof thing is interesting. Yeah, that the roofs, the structural integrity is the primary thing. So you've got to get that right. I would, if you're worried, just, you know, get a structural engineer out and they'll work it out for you. But if you wanted to support, look, you can design a roof planting scheme that can weigh about, as I said, 10 kgs a square meter. It all depends on what the roof looks like, what type of soil and what you're growing. I mean, again, I've been growing stuff in tins. I've been doing my green roof trays and putting Coca-Cola tins and all these tins as a growing medium and just topping them up with a bit of compost. And 4 or 5 years later, I opened my tray up and they've actually decomposed. So the reaction of the compost with the tin, sure, that the runoff might be problematic, but there is ways of utilizing growing medium that's actually inert, light, and yeah. But yeah, structurally, please, that's the first thing. You have to do that. It's disastrous otherwise.
So we have two other questions. The one is monkeys, which is a KZN issue, I think, probably, although you do get them up here in Joburg. And I have definitely had, we have as the JNF also a project actually down in KZN in Hammersdale. But certainly anyone you talk to in KZN has an issue with monkeys. What has been your experience there, Clive?
Yeah, so my veg garden, we have a troop that comes through every single day, and I've just left some stuff uncaged for them to utilize. It's easier that way. They don't let them have what they want, so they have a lot of the pawpaws, they have a lot of the tomatoes and stuff, and then we obviously close off an area for us to feed. I mean, again, it's not their fault. We've got to help them. It's about creating shared value.
All right, there we go. Now, a broader question, and maybe Siyabonga, you can talk to us about this from your experience in Victoria Yards, but anyone really. The issue of water, right? Getting water for these things. Obviously, nothing grows without water. Some places have infrastructure, some places don't. If you're in a place that doesn't have much water, how do you go about thinking about this?
Benji, if I can come in, the issue of water is really like a challenge because in an urban environment, that there's water is so expensive. So really, if you do have license to get a borehole, it would be advisable. But if not, then you're just gonna have to bear the cost of the water. And the city sometimes just ridiculously bill you for whatever you bill, you could never been sure if you're being billed right, with the city. So it's quite a challenge, the issue of water. I mean, really, I wouldn't really have much advice to give for water issue. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else, Clive?
Sorry. So we've had some experience in Toyando at Gogogo Village. It's about 3 hours into by 4x4. There was a school that was built there. I was involved with East Coast Architects. And water was an issue out there. So we used mist collectors. We collected water via mist. They call them mist catchers, and you catch the water you catch the mist in the catcher, and it runs down and eventually feeds into a tank itself. I mean, I think when we look at the idea of corporate social responsibility and creating shared values, those urban agricultural sites that have been activated, there has to be some type of institutional building that's next to it or close to it we have to tap off the water. We have to use the water off those buildings, and they have to come on board, those corporate entities. They have to create some type of shared value, whether it's rainwater coming into JoJo tanks that are then moved across the road. I don't know, but there must be ways. And the reason why I say that, also with air conditioning at the city we were looking at, they were wasting in their condensers, the air conditioning water runoff. They were wasting 10,000 liters every 4 days. every 4 days. And that's every single air conditioning unit in the city engineers department. So the green roof has let that minimize because of the need for aircon. But I also got a fecal count done on that water that came off the air conditioning units themselves. And the World Health Organization says about 0.8 you can't go over. And this was about 0.6, 0.7. So don't quote me on this website or on this webinar, but if you really run out of water, just put your mouth over an air conditioning outlet pipe. You can drink it. But I mean, there's lots of ways. So we also use the air conditioning water to tap into our pond systems on rooftops where we have our frogs and other types of species that require aquatic. So again, it is a way of trying to close that loop. But the ideal thing would be to just stop the air cons altogether, obviously. So there are ways, I think. Again, it's much more different, I think, in Joburg. I don't know what the situation is there. But we've had quite some success with asking neighboring buildings and corporations to please help us tap off their water.
Just talking about water again there. Oh, Nadir, did you have something you wanted to add?
Sorry, I think Clive just said the right thing. You know, we forget agriculture is technology. So if you don't have water, then you just need more technology. You know, you can't draw the line. So you must always fiddle, you know, rooftop harvesting, broken pipes, and a lot of people steal water in Joburg. But also your permaculture design, which should be the first thing that you do. You should plant your water in the soil. That's the first place you should have the water. But one should never stop. You know, you must always find the place. You know, find water, find it. Yeah.
Just on the water question and ponds and stuff, there was again that question of the swimming pool. And I have seen urban houses in suburbs and stuff where it's a swimming pool stroke fish pond, and I'm not just saying it's badly maintained, it's actually designed that way. You know, is this a trend that we're seeing? Yeah,
it's a swimming pond. I've seen a few of them, and you can drink the water if you do it right. And it's the same infrastructure except the chemicals. You just let the water flow through plant beds.
Okay,
and
so there we go.
Yucky on the sides, but I mean, come on, you know, it's fine.
All right, so for the people who are worried about the swimming pool, that's I'm going to come in and check out your swimming pond. Discussions here around speckworms and fruit trees planted along the sides of roads and that sort of thing. I mean, Dorit, if you go to Tel Aviv, you'll see a lot of bats in the trees on the sides of roads. Is this something that they're thinking about on that side in terms of food in the city? Oh, I think we've lost me or someone. Dorit, can you hear me? Okay, so we're clearly having a.
Sorry, you were. I don't think you were clear. Yeah.
I have some internet I was disconnected. So can you repeat the question for me, please?
Just on the question, there's a lot of questions around fruit trees that we've been discussing here, and a couple of other people. I mean, I know that there's a lot of trees in Tel Aviv that I remember seeing around the center, or in general in Tel Aviv. Is food forests and food trees something that is popular?
Well, it's complicated because I would think not, but lately I heard some webinars like this about the planning of Tel Aviv, and it was planned to be a garden city, a place where gardens are, and there are many trees, yes, but not too many fruit trees. But I heard in this webinar that people in Tel Aviv decades ago, where they just established the city, they were supposed by municipality to plant at least 2 fruit trees in the yard. And I didn't know this, so I went to my yard. It's an old house, and indeed I saw a lemon tree that I didn't know was existing there, because it's not very common to grow fruits here, but indeed it started like this. It used to be something very common, and not anymore. So there is something in it. Compared to Europe, let's say, we have many more trees than in places in big cities in Europe. But fruit trees, I'm not sure. Should be more.
that is a fascinating thing to see that you found the tree by bylaw. That's great.
Yeah.
Can I ask? I mean, in terms of trees, I've got some exotics in my garden that are fruit. I mean, is there a suggested tree if someone was to go out there and plant a fruit tree or a food tree of some description, Joburg or Durban? What would people recommend? I mean, we've heard avocados tonight. What else is out there?
Yes,
No,
me
sorry,
or in general?
I felt like that was a general question. I apologize. I mean,
Yeah.
Siyabonga, you spoke about the avos that you guys do. Norded, have you found trees that communities plant?
You know, this is a really important question. I do know there are cultivars of avocados that that are appropriate to Joburg, because Joburg's a little bit cold. But you know, you know, if you take a plant, avo, and you take the seed that you bought and you plant it, you know, it might not be such a good idea, because the way they breed them and the hybridize, etc. So the children don't look like the parents. And you might also end up where it only gives you fruit every second year. So, but this plant germplasm is available. So it's just up to people to go and ask for it. I'm sure the Agricultural Research Council or Nitvorbei, one of the institutes, might have this germplasm. There's avocado trees, pecan trees grow very well in Joburg, walnut trees in Joburg, other chestnuts in Joburg. And this is really also a solution for urban street tree planting, and it could have food security effects. But we're going to have to wait, and we're going to have to plant a lot of trees. A lot of them are going to die before they grow. But you know what? We got to do it. If you look at Johannesburg, it was a grassland. There were no trees. It was, I think, a Jewish businessman who grew them 100 years ago. Johannesburg is full of trees. It's a forest. There's a lot of trees. I grow a lot of trees. I'm not very good at a farmer, but there's very little of the grasslands left, and it's a forest. But a lot of the trees are not edible, or they so they're beautiful, but they're not indigenous and they're not edible, so we lose.
Absolutely, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I really appreciate your time once again. I know we have people who also have to get home before curfew and whatnot. So we will take we'll take our leave. I see Jeff, you had a question, but I hope I picked it up in the chat. And if anyone has questions, please do contact the participants of tonight's panel directly, and take up anything. And please do have a look at the chats in terms of lots of people have been adding what they're doing in growth and vegetables and different companies and stuff. So I think a really evening. I've enjoyed it, learned a lot, and very inspired. So thank you very much for your time, everyone, and keep safe and keep warm or keep cool in the Tel Aviv perspective. And we will send out to everyone who's asking for the link on email tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and great to meet everybody.
That was awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
We must chat, Nori.
Yeah, we will. And
Definitely.